We're
Yes.
super excited about this because, as everybody saw, Skydance sweetened the deal to Shari Redstone to make it a little extra juicy, a little bit more flavorful. They put a little M&Ms in the care package, okay? Now, in a landmark deal that will shake up the entertainment landscape, Shari Redstone has agreed to sell control of Paramount Global to Skydance. That is right. The production company led by David Ellison and Jerry Cardinelli's Red Bird Capital. Now, the sale, assuming it is approved by regulators and completed, which, I mean, I have no doubt that it wouldn't be because Skydance is a much smaller company than Paramount, so there's no problem. This would see that Skydance acquire Redstone's majority stake in National Amusements, which no one cares about, and which could turn or in which turn would secure control of Paramount. The owner of Paramount Film and Television Studios, Paramount Plus, CBS, and the cable channels like Nickelodeon, MTV, and Comedy Central. Now, putting the historical studio in the hands for the first time and new hands for the first time since the 1980s. Once the deal closes, the plan is for Paramount to acquire Skydance, which in turn will install its new leadership team that is the Stored Entertainment Company. Now, Ellison will be CEO, this is by no surprise, with former NBC Universal Jeff Shell, who is currently working at Redbird, is set to run the company for the day-to-day processes as president. So, all exciting things.
Oh yeah, and see, like, but what you just said, that this is where it could get tricky though, because you're right, Skydance is smaller and it's less valued than National Amusement, but their plan is to have them get the majority shares from National Amusement, and then therefore Skydance would own Paramount, but then they're gonna flip it. And Paramount will acquire Skydance, and Paramount will be the parent company. And that's where it could get tricky for the federal regulators to go, wait a minute, how is that working? And the other issue that I have is, if you guys are unfamiliar, and you shouldn't be, because if you were listening to our show, you'd know, Jeff Shell, the reason he's at Redbird and no longer the CEO of NBC Universal is because he had to step down after it came out that he had an inappropriate relationship with a female co-worker that he tried to cover up. Paramount, CBS, as you guys know, with Les Moonves and Michael Weatherly and several others within that company, already have a major problem with issues like that. So do we want this guy to be put in as the president and running the shit? Maybe not. I don't know. Here's the thing, though. It's not a done deal yet, as Logan said, and here's why. Because according to the companies, the Skydance Consortium will invest $2.4 billion to acquire it for cash and $4.5 billion for the stock cash merger consideration to be paid for publicly traded Class A and Class B shares, as well as $1.5 billion of primary capital. But here's where it gets tricky. The deal not only buys out Redstone's stake, but also allows other Class A and Class B shareholders to cash out at $23 per share and $15 per share, respectively, whether they have Class A or Class B. Now, Skydance says when it's all said and done, it expects to own 70% of the shares that are outstanding. Now, this all-stock deal to merge Skydance into Paramount will value Ellison Studio at $4.75 billion. Now, if Paramount agrees to accept a more lucrative deal, okay, because remember, there's a 45-day window. They gave Skydance and Paramount agreed on a 45-day window for other suitors to try to come in and either match that bid or give a bigger bid. Now, here's where you can tell that Ellison is a smart guy, because his daddy, as you guys know, really smart guy. And here's where you can tell that he is also smart, because he put into this deal that if Shari does decide within that 45-day window to take another deal from another company, she'd have to basically pay him $500 million to get out of the deal. Now, $400 million, but come on, it's $500 million.
Yeah.
That's brilliant because she wants out really bad, and there's no way the company that's another company that would be agreeing to buy the company would be willing to shell out an extra $500 million just to buy out Skydance, in my opinion. Like, fuck you, you pay them first, and then we'll make the deal. But I just, that's a brilliant move, and I think it guarantees that this deal will be done. Now it's going to come down to the regulators, because the shareholders did agree. They did have a meeting of the directors and the shareholders, and they are on board with it. I guess so. $23 a share. Have you looked at Paramount stock? It ain't $23 a share. So they're going to come out of it pretty good. So I can see why that's not an issue. And it's interesting because the next story that we're going to talk about, I think, will play heavily into it, because it says, will the federal regulators allow it to go through? Well, Biden, he hates these mergers and acquisitions. He does not like them. He's against them and has made a lot of legislation to prevent them. So that guy makes it. Maybe this deal doesn't go through. The other guy, on the other hand, the Orange Oompa Loompa, he's all for him because he's a business guy. He's like, fuck yeah, let's merge, make money, yeah. He's in favor of giant mergers and acquisitions. So this deal could come down to November. And
yeah,
I mean, like, you hate to say it, but you have to say it. This deal could rely on who wins the election.
Yeah, because I mean, they're already saying that this deal won't be finalized until like mid-2025.
Yeah,
to get everything handled. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting because there's so many different obstacles. And I mean, yeah, that $400 million. No way somebody's going to step in there.
No.
And before we started the show, we saw that Sony officially pulled out. That publicly, they're like, nope, we're good.
Yeah,
all y'all, like, it's completely fine. But I think this is really cool. After listening to a conversation that David Ellison was having about this acquisition, I really enjoy this guy, but he also is a smooth talker.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how he is moving forward. I think it's also very interesting, though, that he's only 41 years old, which will make him like one of the youngest CEOs of a major studio in today's climate, which is freaking awesome because we need a younger representation when it comes to executives. That is for sure.
You know what I'm happy about, though? Skydance, if you guys aren't familiar, has had a long-standing relationship with Paramount Studios.
They have, yeah.
Yeah, and they have worked together to co-fund films, and so when this even first started being mentioned, I was like, well, this makes sense because they work with Paramount Pictures. They have deals with, there's a long-standing relationship there. Because my biggest fear was that somebody, because of Zasloff and people like him, my biggest fear was that somebody was going to buy it and chop it up, and Paramount would no longer exist. It would cease to exist. When Ellison started coming out saying, hey, I kind of want this, I'm kind of in on this, I want to make a go for it, I felt relieved because it's the last thing he wants to do. And him saying that he's going to have Paramount be the parent company, that he's going to merge his into Paramount, means the studio's not going anywhere. His goal is to save the studio. You're not going to see the sell-off of the historic lot. You're not going to see the sell-off of the content property library, and he's in it. And even more so, I saw that he reached out to Paramount's golden boy, Tom Cruise, to make sure he was okay with him doing what he was planning on doing.
Yeah.
That says to me he knows that's the bread and butter of the movies. He saw what Maverick did. He saw what So I think Paramount is in good hands with him. Now he did say his goal is to make Paramount Plus the priority and to make it profitable, but he's not going to take away theatrical releases or making movies to do that. He's already laid out a plan where he's going to cut. He's going to do some layoffs, unfortunately, but that is what it is. He's going to cut certain areas of the company. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and follow through with the sell-off of BET, which seems to be a smart move, in my opinion. But and I think, I don't know, because he hasn't really kind of addressed this situation yet, but I would not be surprised if he follows through with the deal with David Zasloff about merging Max with Paramount Plus. It just seems like that's where we're going with that, to make these things profitable. And if they can work out some sort of a deal, I think that that's probably a smart move. But what I did like, because I too was listening to the conversation, I like that he's always thought of Paramount as an equal to Disney. Because Paramount back in the Paramount was before Disney. Warner Brothers was before Disney. Not by much, but they were. And Paramount kind of fell out of it, right? They weren't that historic, and Disney kind of became the mega, when MGM kind of lost the luster and RKO folded all together. And Disney kind of became the one. And he says he's always seen Paramount as an equal to Disney. And he wants to start doing that. He wants to start using the virtual reality technology that his company has. And he wants to turn it into destination type things. He wants to do these little pop-up places like Disney's doing. He wants to make theme parks. He wants to have Paramount theme parks. He wants to challenge Disney as the go-to entertainment source.
But that's funny. You're applauding them for that. But remember, a couple weeks ago, Netflix was talking about doing the same thing, and you're kind of coming at them. So I mean, you gotta give him push because I mean, it's the same thing.
Listen, I totally agree, but I don't think that Netflix, the reason I'm against it with Netflix right now is because Netflix is they don't have the content library. They don't have they're just trying to make, they're not doing it for the historical value like Disney and Ellison wants to do with Paramount. It's like, we are a legendary studio. We have all this content from 100 years, and we're proud of it, and we want to display it and put it out there. Netflix wants to make money off of their projects. We want to sell Stranger Things t-shirts. We want to sell this or that. And it's in my opinion, it's the only reason they're doing it. If you were coming at it about you're trying to do like Ellison says, make Netflix an equal to Disney, build yourself up as a legendary studio that 100 years from now people will be talking about, fucking fantastic, go for it. But I don't think that's their goal. And I mean, I just don't. So that's why I kind of have an issue with them. They're trying real hard to convince people that they are a studio, but they are not yet. Not quite. They're pumping out some good content.
Too, because we talk about all the time that Netflix is more or less a tech company, right?
Yeah.
But while listening to this conversation, David Ellison is very pro-tech. Obviously, they're into the video game space. So, it's going to be like that. Hollywood's going to be owned by tech companies. It really
sadly
seems that way.
But
just to be able to figure that all out, and I wouldn't be surprised because Skydance has a lot of their content on Apple TV Plus, so they have a lot of things going there as well. So to be able to figure out where it all goes, does Apple eventually buy out Paramount? All of these different scenarios, because the rumor that's been happening for years, Apple and Disney. But I could see Apple freaking have an easier time with Paramount rather than Disney because of the theme park situation.
I don't disagree with that. That's a solid thought but I think we're more likely to see the consolidation and mergers of the streamers within these companies than we are now about the companies acquiring each other. I think that maybe that is on the back burner sometimes. It's not off the table, but I think now they're realizing, hey, we still want our independence, but we're all basically syncing right now trying to figure out how to make these streamers fucking work. And this might be it. This might be the thing. So if Ellison follows through and Paramount and Max go and it's successful, I think you will see Apple and Disney go, well, wait a minute. Let's jump in on this. Let's see if we can and maybe they do a deal. And if that's successful, then they all come together and go, hey guys, you remember when we did that sports thing and we were all in it on together and it's working out pretty well? Why don't we just take our streamers and do it? So I think that that's more likely to happen instead of mergers with the companies. Because when you think about it, Disney is still, while I think it was a good move, and obviously they've done well with it, they're still making up ground and recovering from the acquisition of 20th Century Fox.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think if any kind of a company acquires another major studio with major content, they would face those same multi-year obstacles that Disney is still paying off. So I think it's more likely we're going to see the mergers of the streamer deals where they partner up before we see another buyout of a major studio, hopefully. Zaslav could have something different, though, right?
That's for sure, man. That's for sure.